Hello, good people. Thank you for joining Squad Car 37 Live. This is our second episode. Looks like we've got a few people in the house. The guest tonight, Escalda, is an LA-based producer. And some of the things and I've been following him for a bit online. You can check him out on Instagram at Escalda_music. And he's also got a really cool website as well as a YouTube page that I'd recommend that you check out as well. And so one of the things that I think is super cool and unique about Escalda's music is that he has sort of a blend of EDM and trap and orchestral music, and also guitar-based stuff too. So tell me a little bit about your rig. First of all, what DAW do you use? What DAW do you use? It sounds like we just lost him.
We apologize for the technical difficulty. Your program will resume shortly. We apologize for the technical difficulty. Your program will resume shortly.
I got disconnected again. I'm back, so whatever you asked, I completely missed.
Okay, so what's your primary DAW?
Ableton. I use Ableton primarily, but I originally came from Pro Tools back in the Pro Tools 7, I believe. When I first started writing music and working in studios, it was a Pro Tools 6 and 7.
So what do you love about Ableton over Pro Tools or some of the other DAWs that are out there?
Ableton's so much better at least personally, and I don't want to offend anybody, but Ableton's so much better with MIDI information. It's really good with processing MIDI and that sort of data. Because I'm more of an in-the-box producer, Ableton's much better at handling that. If I was recording a band, tracking a band or a large orchestra, then Pro Tools is the best option for me personally.
Gotcha. So tell me about your interface.
We apologize for the technical difficulty. Your program will resume shortly.
Yeah, I'm back. That's
All right. Well,
terrible. And yeah, I see some comments about Logic X. I would use Logic X too. The thing is, I'm on a Windows platform. I'm a big Windows PC guy, so.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
I would use Logic X or Logic in general if that was the case.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I use Logic. That's my primary DAW, and I do a mix of both MIDI stuff and then also live stuff. So it works out well for me. But Ableton is super cool too, especially if you're doing live performances, and some of the integration with native instrument stuff is super cool too. So what is sort of where do you like to go as far as software synths and well, first of all, your interfaces. What's your hardware interface look like?
We apologize for the technical difficulty. Your program will resume shortly.
Ah, I see video.
Can you see me? Is that better?
You fixed it, and that's excellent. So I answered a question while you were gone. The question was, since you're a guitar player, I'd like to get your insight on this too. This person is left-handed, and they want to learn if they should learn right-handed because the majority of the other people are right-handed, or should I learn lefty?
That's an interesting question. I'm right-handed, so I have a lot of options. But even if I would go with left-handed if you were. But there are more options on guitars if you're a right-handed player. Not every single model of guitar out there has a left-handed version. Certainly the top models do, but lower-end budget guitars don't really have a left-handed version of those. So if that's your only concern, then just stick with left-handed.
That's a great answer. So speaking of guitars, you've got a beautiful Ibanez, don't you?
Oh yeah, let me pull her up one second. This one, right?
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, so this is a Ibanez Premium. Yeah, the premium model. So just underneath the Prestige um, with the whammy bar stuff. It's a really good guitar. And as soon as I saw it on the floor, I was like, damn, I really I want to buy it as soon as I get the save up enough to purchase it. It's not too pricey, but it's a beautiful guitar. This is a I believe Burlwood. Got like a 17-piece neck in the back,
Hmm.
locking tuners, locking nuts. It's a great guitar. I love it. And the DiMarzio pickups are really nice and crunchy, not overly saturated with distortion. Because I'm not a big distortion guy. I like to hear crunch in my tone. So it's a really good guitar. I love it. It's a A plus. It's a winner for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Ibanez, and they make great guitars. The Prestige line, which I think that one is part of the Prestige line, is a great higher end version of their guitars. And you have a great clean tone. I am the exact, well, I can go clean when I need to. I'm the exact opposite. I love distortion. The more distortion, the better. You crank it up as far as it goes, distortion or added harmonics, as I like to say. I love it. But you have such a great, clean, beautiful tone, and the way you're
Well,
able
thank
to
you.
mix, bring in the guitar into your electronic music and that sort of genre and make that sort of hybrid sound, I think is really cool. And I had mentioned at the top of when we were getting things sorted that you blend orchestral music too, sort of traditional orchestral music with EDM and electronic, and it fits so nicely.
Wow. Well, that's one hell of a compliment. Thank you. I've been trying. That is one of my goals as like a hobby producer in sort of in the style that I write. Is I try to blend in electronic EDM, orchestrated, and virtuoso guitar playing into the same track. And sometimes it works really well. Sometimes it's kind of too much. But I try to find that blend. And the big thing for me is with the lead guitar, the less crunch or the less distortion I use, the cleaner it sounds. Especially with so many instruments being kind of mixed into the same track.
Hmm. Awesome. So we have another guitar question here. Another question about guitars is playing from acoustic to bass to electric universal, or is it completely different in the way to learn on playing?
Acoustic to electric.
Yeah, acoustic playing from acoustic to bass to electric universal. I
Oh,
guess it sort of
well,
depends.
I'm not familiar with bass. I'm gonna plug in my headphones 1 second so I can hear more clearly.
Mhm.
Um, there we go. It should be easier for me to hear you guys.
Yeah, can you hear me? Testing one, two.
Yeah, that's much better.
So
That's much better.
I'll jump in on that one. I would say that it depends on the style and genre, but as far as you have the same strings on an acoustic and an electric, so all of that is the same to learn. The They have a different sound. You'll find that it is a little easier to bend strings on an electric guitar than an acoustic. And then the bass essentially is the top four strings. If you have a four-string bass, or a five-string bass adds a low B, but is essentially the top four strings of the guitar. So once you learn the guitar, you'll know the notes on a four-string bass. It becomes familiar territory, but they're all very different in their disciplines, I would say. What are your thoughts on that, Escalda?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Certainly, the type of songs you can play on an acoustic, you won't be able to get the same feeling out of an electric guitar. There's a certain type of technique that you can do on acoustics that you really can't do on a electric guitar and vice versa. So, I mean, certainly I've seen a lot of acoustic guitar players that can shred on the acoustic guitar. It sounds great, but there's also great acoustic guitar players that know intricate chords and know how to uh, hit harmonics and play beautiful songs on an acoustic that won't sound the same on an electric. There's just a no, it's just completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right.
they're different instruments. Yeah.
So we're getting some good questions here. Okay, so one question is asking me if I'm still with a local organization that does music therapy. I don't know if you have an opportunity to give back or to donate your time to charitable organizations, there's one in our area that works with adults and children and people with special needs, and it's a music therapy organization. So I've volunteered some time. I'm still sort of connected with a lot of those, the people there at that organization. I'm not directly affiliated with them, but still connected with them to answer that question. And the second question is from Daniel. Daniel's getting right into it. He says, Escalda, do you have any knowledge or experience with Spectrasonics Omnisphere?
I absolutely do. Let me answer the first one. I really should. I wish I could. I used to teach when I was when I graduated high school, which is a while ago, long time ago. I taught guitar for free to a lot of the music students in the elementary program. That felt really good to do. I kind of stopped doing that after I moved away from my hometown and moved to LA. But I should look into it. It's a really rewarding feeling to give back, especially because politics have kind of reduced the budget on the arts programs nationwide pretty much, and I really don't like that. I believe the arts programs are really essential to our education. So yeah, I want to do that for the future. I want to give back somehow in the music section. Going into Omnisphere, it is one of my favorite instruments, probably my favorite synth software instrument. Omnisphere is amazing. It not only does it have really great presets and sounds and a very complex set of it gets really complex if you really dig down into all of the features that Omnisphere has, but it also doesn't tax your system like some of the heavier synths out there, like Massive X, for example, from Native Instruments. It's a very taxing on your CPU software, but Omnisphere is pretty damn good about it. And it comes with like 50, 60 gigs of sounds. You have so many options, but that's also a double. It's just like it's also a negative because of so many sounds can be overwhelming. So the best thing that I do with Omnisphere is I listen to what I can in the sections, polyphonic, lead, synths, and I start to star the things that I like, and then I will start to modify them a little bit to kind of make it my own sound, and keep using those to build your own sound. Or you can just use the presets as they are. You know, it's up to you. But it can get overwhelming. But it is a beautiful and amazing software synth.
That's a really good point that you said it very quickly, but you will star the sounds. So you literally flag them or mark them in the system. So when you're going through the presets, you can quickly see which ones you've already flagged before as those that you like. Okay,
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, I flag the ones that I like. And they all have they all have a very similar sound. Some people will like the big, juicy, thick sounding, bassy sound. Some will like the distorted, hollow sounds, airy sounds, whatever you like. Just star them. And you're going to find out that you're going to start using those more often and develop your own sound as opposed to trying to find a new sound. It gets overwhelming, takes a lot of time, and you might even lose the motivation to finish a track or even start one.
What are some other software platforms that you love using for on the creative side of things that you're pulling content from?
Software side. Well, I'm right now really stuck with Native Instruments. Native Instruments, I own the ultimate, what the heck is it, the collector's edition. Mm-hmm. It's like 600 gigabytes, I think, of a lot of content. And I only roughly use 15 or 20 of those gigabytes worth of content. But Massive X is really good. Massive. There is Absinthe I use.
Yeah, Daniel's saying complete. So yeah, that complete ultimate. I think
complete.
It's called.
Yeah. Complete ultimate. Yeah. That it's a really powerful set of instruments, and especially with the Native Instruments S88, it's really fully integrated with the workflow. It makes it much easier. And one of the things I mentioned in one of my videos was the reason I got the S88 is because I can be more hands-on the keyboard and less time on the keyboard and mouse on my PC, dragging presets around and clicking stuff. Just like most of my attention's on the keyboard, which I really, really enjoy.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of what you're doing is automating things on the fly. You're making those little articulations when you're recording it to give it that extra sort of flavor that fits within the song.
Yeah, definitely, especially with sample-based libraries. So sample-based ones like the Symphony series, Symphony collection from from native instruments, you don't want to, you press the keys and you hold on it. Well, it has a certain, those keys you can't really let go and press hard or something. It's the dynamics when you press a keyboard are not the same as if someone was playing the actual instrument. So you have to go back into the DAW and redraw some of the dynamics, like the expression or the breath, to make it sound a little bit more human. That takes a lot of time.
Yes, yes.
As a producer,
And is that?
But it's worth it.
It's worth it. And do you find that, well, really with any software, are you finding that especially with orchestral samples?
That's a good question. I don't spend a lot of time doing dynamic changes with electric instruments, or I'm sorry, synths like Omnisphere.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually just recorded in whatever the dynamics. I might change the expression a little bit, but it's nowhere near as close as when I'm changing dynamics on an orchestrated-based plugin. It's totally different.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we got another question here. This is kind of an ethics question. What do you think with this drama you hear with artists stealing versus being inspired with others' songs? As in music over decades versus of older songs are used in more modernized popular music. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's a tough one. There is certainly, it is an ethical question. If someone was using one of my tracks, or at least if I found one of my tracks, or someone produced a song that sounded similar to mine, I don't produce the most original stuff. The structure of the songs, A, B, intro, chorus, and even the melodies could sound very similar to other songs that I've heard in the past myself. Western music, especially pop songs nowadays, have very similar sounding structures. I think it's over dramatized, to be honest. Like there's a Beatles song, and then there's a Michael Jackson song that was recently in court and stuff like that. And to me, honestly, it just sounded like the guys, they were not plagiarizing. Without getting too much into politics, I think it is over dramatized. This whole debate whether you're stealing or being original, and samples especially. I mean, how much of a sample can you actually use? Someone might know that. Can you actually use before it becomes copyright infringement?
Yeah, what's interesting, what typically, in the cases that I've read about, what typically happens is if an artist creates music that is so close that they think, and they get sued, essentially the resolution to that oftentimes is they will name that other artist as a writer on the piece. So then they're just like, oh, okay, we'll just add you to the writer's credit of this song. I totally stole Escalda's, intro riff to one of his most popular songs. You got me. Okay, I'm going to add you as a writer. And you're like, okay, because then now you get the royalties on the song. Because usually you don't care until that song starts picking it. You hear it on the radio. You're like, whoa, wait a second.
That is true. That is true.
So you're happy to get
that would be
paid.
a favorable outcome.
Yeah. So anyway, and then when it gets into samples, the best thing to do is there are so many software synths out there, and are you familiar? You're probably familiar with Output and Arcade.
Yeah.
Have you heard? Yeah. So Arcade is a software synth made by the company Output, and it's essentially a sample-based piece, and you can use any of those samples, but it is how it is articulated that creates the novelty of it. You articulate it until it's your own. So that's really, I think, the goal. And hearing other people's music is always going to inspire you, either directly or indirectly or subconsciously. The trick is to try to take what somebody else has built and what you love about it and make it your own. So that's always, I think, the goal.
Yeah. And then there's one instance where it kind of reminds me of that Output situation you're talking about. Was it Arcade?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite composers, Hans Zimmer, and I think a lot of people know who he is. He wrote a song, or his entire soundtrack for The Last Samurai was really good. Storyline for that movie wasn't, the best, but I love the soundtrack and the score. There was one particular song, I believe, was called The Way of Life, that was used by an artist. called Seven Lions, and he didn't use the entire orchestra, but the melody, that melody that carries across the entire score, was used in that song. And to me, it was incredibly obvious where that melody came from. So, but the artist, Seven Lions, at the same time, he modified it so much where that melody sounded like it came from a synth rather than from one of the traditional Oriental instruments that Hans Zimmer used. So where do you sit on that? Like that's up to debate. I think it was copyrighted and it was taken down, but it was modified extensively. Now at that point, it's just a melody that's being used.
Yeah, I don't know. I
So
guess
interesting concept.
it's up to the courts to decide when it gets into that sort of thing. But my
Mm-hmm.
focus is I love listening to things. It's almost like I listen to music like I taste food and try to come up with the recipe. I listen for the ingredients and then I change them so it's my own recipe. That's the
Mm-hmm.
fun to
Mm-hmm.
me. You hear
Yeah,
something totally cool and novel, and then you figure out how you can incorporate it into your own style. And as you create
absolutely.
music over and over and over again, you will naturally develop your style. Even if it starts
Mm-hmm.
out being the style that is most similar to the artist that you love, eventually you're going to branch off. But it just takes time, and you need to sort of continue to modify and cultivate your own style.
Absolutely. And I totally agree. I
All right,
think that's
so
where every artist is headed to.
yeah, I'd agree with that. Let me, so I have some software sense. I figured I would just highlight a few that might be helpful to those that are tuning in. And Escalda, you tell me if these are going to be familiar to you. But I'm going to pull them up on the screen here. Let me see if I can shoot this around. Yeah. You tell me if I catch your attention. And then also I've got some that are free. Actually, while I'm getting this set up, are there any free software synths or plugins that you love?
Oh, free ones.
I kind of gave it
I
away
haven't
right
used
there.
I haven't. I can't. The thing is, I can't see your screen, unfortunately. But um, it's all right as long as you guys can see my.
All right, well, I'll
uh,
go first. So,
go ahead.
Spitfire Audio. Are you familiar with Spitfire Audio?
Oh, definitely. They have amazing libraries.
Yeah, so Spitfire Audio has a whole group of instruments that are all free and they're under their Labs brand. So for those of you tuning in, check out Spitfire Audio, type in Labs, and they've got all these amazing free instruments. And I'm telling you, just because they're free, don't think they don't have great sounds. They're incredible, especially. So the new one just came out as a Whirly synth. Um, but the soft piano, it's a felt soft piano. Have you used this one before, Escalda? The soft piano by Spitfire Audio?
No, but it sounds very similar to one that came with the complete selection or one of the complete libraries called Una Corda, which is a felt-based piano.
Mm-hmm.
Has very interesting textures. It's one of my favorite actual libraries too. Sounds very similar to that one.
What's nice about the Spitfire sample library, outside of these, this comes with its own free player, and it's super easy to use. So they've got electric piano, they've got drums, groove piano, the trumpets. I've downloaded that. That's super cool. The strings too are really good. The strings are they've got also got scary strings. So if you're doing like orchestral stuff for like a horror film or something like that, the OP is really good too. Music box if you're looking for that sort of glockenspielish music box stuff. So anyway, I would recommend Labs by Spitfire Audio because it's all free and they keep updating it all the time, and it's super high quality samples, and it's a great entry point into Spitfire if you don't already get into them. Their orchestral samples are some of the best that I've heard.
Yeah, they sound really good. As soon as I can afford their orchestral samples, I will be buying some. They're up in they're pretty pricey, especially their flagship Albion one, I believe, is incredibly expensive, but it comes with some amazing sample libraries.
Yeah.
Definitely some of the best.
Yeah, I saved up and I got that a while back, and its samples are really, really good. So speaking of
Hmm.
not spending a lot of money, here's another tip for you guys if you're looking for free content that's really great. And you might have this too. Are you into the isotope stuff, Escalda?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I use it all the time.
vinyl. Have you ever used vinyl by isotope?
Yeah, years ago. It's a fantastic uh, adds sort of that vinyl texture to your tracks, and you can even change how much of it you want in the track as well. It's great.
That's it. That's
Fantastic
it.
plugin. Hmm.
And guess what? It's even better because it's free. So you can
Yeah.
download it free on the isotope site. And I've got one more free one for our viewers to check out. Tal Software, TAL, Tal Software. Have you ever heard of those guys?
I don't believe so.
If you haven't, I'd recommend checking them out. They've got a Tal Noisemaker. It's free. They've got a number of like chorus, reverbs, filters, and a vocoder, all free. And they've got other stuff that you can pay for that are really not super expensive. But the Tal Noisemaker it's awesome, and it's essentially like a Moog, kind of like an old Moog synth sound that you can modify and have a lot of fun with. So anyway, I figured I'd
Really
give
cool.
some tips for free stuff because we end up spending
Yeah.
so much on
Free's
plugins.
good. Hmm. Hmm.
Cool. So what else? What are you doing music wise right now? What's kind of been your focus as far as the on the creative side of things?
Well, there's two things I'm working on currently. I have a commission project. I'm working on a mobile game, so working on a soundtrack for that. It's very 8-bit based, so I'm working that for the next few weeks before I send over the first drafts of the track. And it's not too hard. They're asking for about 5 or 6 tracks that are about 3 minutes worth of loops a piece. Very energetic. So I'm working on that. Uh, and the next thing is I'm trying to expand my library of stock music. So well, a lot of the songs that I make, I sell or license on stores like Audio Sparks, Pond 5. Um, there's one more, I believe, or two more, Audio Jungle,
Hmm.
right? So I sell there, and I'm trying to sell like a 24 track library to one of these. Maybe 5 Alarm if they accept it, but that's really what I'm working on right now, trying to expand my library.
So Audio Jungle and Five Alarms are like they're licensing companies. So anyone who's
Hmm.
going to get music for commercials or a TV show or an ad, etc., they can sign up for this, and your music is in that catalog and can be licensed for whatever project they're working on. Is that right?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yep.
Cool. And the video game
Yeah.
stuff must
Eh,
be really fun.
It is fun when when the producers pay your fee. Most of the time they don't, especially with the mobile platforms. But I like it enough where I'm like, you know what? It sounds like a good idea. I'll join in, and we'll tackle the budget, with whatever they have.
Mhm.
So, but it's fun. It's fun to do. Games are fun to do.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
So let's see if we have any other questions. How do I go about using artist songs for films? Could I use one of those sounds, and are they royalty free? Well, actually, that's what you were just talking about. So some of those
Yeah.
libraries that you're talking about, Escalda, are royalty free libraries, right?
Some are. That's right. Some are royalty-free libraries. As long as you give them credits in the credit section, you should be fine. Some are not. Some will chase you into court if you do not read the fine print all the way through.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
what's your position on exclusive versus non-exclusive licensing agreements?
Well, I have an exclusive licensing agreement with AudioSparks, which is perfectly fine because I get a bigger cut when there's a synchronization or licensing request.
Mhm.
Has it paid off? Not so much because I feel like I'm writing specific tracks that for AudioSparks instead I could be sending them across many platforms, many of these stores instead. So I might cancel that. I don't believe. I don't know. It's a tough one. All I can say is that if you want a bigger cut of the synchronization license, you can do exclusives. But that means you'll be writing specifically for one platform, and you cannot send it over to other places. So it's up
So
to
for
you.
those who aren't familiar with exclusive and non-exclusive, can you just explain what the general term means? What is the limitation of doing an exclusive agreement for you as the artist?
I don't fully understand that. As far as I understand it, it's I can only write for a specific platform. So if one of my songs that I write, if I wrote a track that's exclusive to one platform, I cannot send that over to the rest because it's exclusive to that platform, and they will send copyright infringements to if my exclusivity for a specific track is on AudioSparks,
Hmm.
they will and I submit that same song to Five Alarm or Pond 5, they will. That's a legal issue.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically it. So I've worked with a number of licensing companies too, and primarily with one outlier example, have all been non-exclusive. And so the benefit to me is in that I can put the same tracks in multiple non-exclusive libraries. I can use them myself. They still belong to me. I'm the um, I don't have to stick with the same licensing company. The downside is you usually don't get as much for your royalty for your
Hmm.
placements as you do when you do an exclusive agreement
That's
because
right.
they are locking down your song for use only in their library. The benefit to them is they've got these great songs that nobody else can use. So their clients will choose their library because they're confident that they're not going to choose a song and then hear that same song in their competitor's product ad, etc. So
That's right.
you just have to
Hmm.
make the decision what makes the most sense to you. In the exclusive agreement that I was in, I was getting placements in TV shows, which was great, and the royalties were higher, but I just couldn't deal with the fact that I wasn't able to use my own song. It just drove me nuts. And so I put together quite a few of these tracks, but I had to keep them on a separate hard drive. I have to mark them so I'm absolutely sure I never use those for anything else again. And to me, it just kind of so I decided to discontinue that scenario. I asked them. I said, I know you don't have an exclusive agreement. If you did, I'd be happy to proceed, or a non-exclusive, I'd be happy to proceed. Otherwise, I'm gonna move on. So
Hmm.
that's it.
Smart.
So essentially,
Very
you get
smart.
paid more for the music, but you don't have as much liberty and freedom to post where you want to post. That's correct. That's
Hmm.
correct.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, I gotta thank you for making time tonight, and I've been following you for I don't know maybe a year and a half. You put together
Oh, thank
great,
you. I appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's my pleasure. You put together great content. I love the guitar connection. I love your sort of hybrid approach to trap and orchestral, and your videos are super fun. Your content online is consistent. It is upbeat. It's positive, and it's educational. So people paying attention. I'm picking up on stuff as I'm watching your content. So I really
That means a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really try to be as positive as possible, and especially inform people what I do, because there's always questions on how you do stuff, and instead of just showing a finished track, I want to show a little bit of the process. That's really my goal with posting videos on my Instagram or YouTube. My YouTube, I need to update videos. It takes, I'm sure you know, it takes a lot of time to edit a video, right? Especially if you want to make it fairly decent. But it's fun, it's rewarding. So thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, so you're doing fantastic work, and I love this live stuff too. Like I'm digging into this. This is my only my second live, and what's nice about live, outside of and you're always going to have some technology glitches, so you just have to like that's part of it. Just know
Hmm.
how to roll with that when it happens, because that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But outside of that, what's cool about it is it creates content. You don't have to edit a bunch of it. I mean, you can and repost it, But I'm planning to do this essentially as a weekly series and reaching out to people like yourself, experts in different areas in music production and music, and try to get those insights out so that it's a way to sort of give back and educate and also be fun. And I enjoy it too. I learn a lot chatting with you and others. So I'm going to be doing that as we move forward. And I hope that hope I can reach back out to you and invite you back on a future live episode.
Absolutely, that sounds great. I'll be tuning into the new to your new upcoming live sessions. Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. All right. Well, I think we're going to sign off for this Squad Car 37 Live. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for all the great questions.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Escalda, for tuning in and being part and giving back. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone.
Bye now.